Everybody, so apparently Twitch is having a system-wide issue this morning. I tried to limp through it in my first class and it was a mess and it kept kicking us out. So I think what I decided is I'm just going to create a little video for you right now. I'll go over all of the things I would have done in the Twitch session and I'm going to post this here on Canvas, which you're watching right now. And then if you have any questions, you can of course email me. And if I'm able to schedule another short Twitch session later in the week, another morning, I will definitely let you know. I know we do have our exam this week. So I wanted to make sure that I still go over how to take the test and some reminders and tips and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go through all our stuff like usual, and I'll give you the extra credit question at the end as well. And obviously don't worry about putting your name in the chat this week since there wasn't a chat. So first, let's talk for just a moment about last week. So last week we were in week number 3, and you had a couple of things due last week. Overall, I think everything was really good. I just want to give you a little bit of feedback. So on discussion number 3, you were in charge of coming up with a search topic in psychology and then looking at it on different platforms. It was interesting. There were definitely a couple of topics that were way more popular than the others. By a landslide, the most popular topic was PTSD, followed by anorexia, and then depression. There were a few people who talked about other things like EMDR, phobias, all sorts of different topics, but by far PTSD was the most common. And I'm laughing because it was the one I gave you an example of first. So a lot of you definitely did run with that. But overall, really well done. A few of you lost points for just not going into enough detail, but the vast majority of you did perfectly on this. Please also remember to respond to a peer. I saw more people doing that this week, but a few of you are still forgetting that. So try to remember that in addition to responding to my questions, you also need to respond to one of your peers' comments as well. So overall, really nicely done on discussion number 3. I continue to be impressed with the things that you're coming up with. And we're starting to get into, starting next week, really, we'll get into a little bit more difficult topics, kind of more of the heart of the class and the information that is the core of this class. But for now, we do have a couple of other things happening this week. The other thing for last week was that you had your first homework assignment. And again, I was really largely impressed. Some really interesting articles that you selected. So it was kind of fun looking over and reading those. And I was impressed with your 1 to 2 sentence summaries. That is a difficult skill to develop. So a lot of you did that really nicely, which was nice to see. But the homework assignment, most of you did fantastically. You did a great job finding an APA style article, copying and pasting the first sentence of each of those sections to get familiar with where the information is and how it's all laid out in one of those articles. The biggest reason people lost points, several of you forgot to include the link to your article or a copy of the PDF, which lost you a couple of points. But otherwise, it wasn't a lot of unique writing on your part. It was more copy, paste, and locate. And a lot of you did that just perfectly. So that is our first homework assignment down. Our first kind of 3 weeks are down. We are now in week number 4. So for week number 4, you're looking at APA formatting part 1. So kind of brief, I have a kind of a brief lecture for you this week related to APA part 1, introducing what is APA, what does it stand for, which edition are we in, why do you use it, who uses it, and then how to avoid plagiarism. So kind of setting the stage of APA formatting, and then we'll build on that in 2 other segments across the semester. So there's no reading in the textbook this week. It's just watching the video lecture that I made for you with the PowerPoint slides. And then of course, looking over the lecture notes that I have here. I have your summary, like always. There's a little bit of information beyond the book. And I went into this a bit more in the lecture, kind of introducing the publication manual, when to use sources and avoid plagiarism, when to cite. These are all things I highlighted in the lecture video for the week, but definitely read through this as well. And then at the end were all of your key terms and review for the exam, which we'll talk a lot about here in a moment. So make sure for this week that you're listening to the lecture, and it's only, I think, about 12 minutes long. It's fairly brief. It's kind of a smaller topic. And then also reading this little lecture here, doing discussion number 4. And then the biggest thing that we have different this week is we do have our first exam. So exam number 1 is happening this week, and that's something that I want to make sure that you are feeling as good about as possible. So let's talk a little bit about some of the ways you can prepare for the exam, some tips, some kind of general notes. The exam can be found right here. So if you click on this link, it will take you to exam number 1. And before you hit take the quiz, notice there are some instructions. So for the exam, it's due by this Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. It's worth 50 points, and it is a 60-minute test. So you have 1 hour to complete the exam. So it's a little bit more than a minute per question. And I've given this test many times. It's plenty of time as long as you are prepared. So some general rules here: 60 minutes to take the exam. You only get 1 attempt, so be ready and be organized before you begin. You can use your notes, you can use your book, you can use anything at your disposal during the test. But I promise you, if you are trying to look up every single answer or every question, you will run out of time. And this is purposeful. Okay, so I want you to be studying and preparing like you would for a regular in-class test. Make sure that you understand the terms that you're going to be tested on. And I'll show you how you can know what those are in a moment. They're on the study guide. Make sure you understand each one of them. Make sure that you're organized. Maybe you have all your notes laid out in front of you and you have everything ready to go. But if you aren't prepared, you haven't studied, and you're trying to understand and look questions up as you go along, you will be really short on time. So just make sure that you're organized and ready before you begin. Make sure that you have good internet connection and a quiet space to do it in before you begin. Canvas will stop your test at the deadline. So there's a little clock that will appear in the corner and it will cut you off when you're out of time. So make sure you're watching the time. You can skip questions if you wanted to skip ahead and come back. That's totally fine. And then when you're ready, you'll hit submit quiz when you're finished. It'll give you an instant grade on the test. And then you'll be done. So just a couple of things to remember as you're taking it. Make sure you're ready, you're organized. 1 attempt. Please study and prepare like you normally would. And the other thing that I would add on here is please don't wait till Sunday night to take the test. With our world being so unpredictable with COVID, with the internet and wind and like weather issues that we've been having, try and make sure that you leave yourself enough time. Take it Friday, Saturday, even Sunday morning, rather than waiting till Sunday night. So those are just some kind of general exam tips. Don't wait till the last minute. If you have an issue during the exam, of course, email me or reach out to me if something crashes or something occurs, but hopefully everything runs smoothly and you do really, really well. If you want to practice with exam format, so this isn't going to help you with the topic, but remember we did have that mandatory orientation quiz. I basically made that same quiz a practice exam for you. So if you wanted to just kind of remind yourself of Canvas test format, here you can see, here's the clock that's running up in the corner. You can practice on selecting your answers, and then there was even like a true false question or two in here. And then when you're done, you hit submit. So if you are feeling nervous about the format of exams on Canvas, you could always retake this practice exam. But otherwise, exam number 1 can be found under the quizzes tab or linked under week number 4. I was going to ask you if there are any questions, but you can't respond to me by video, can you? I'm sorry we couldn't do our Twitch today. It's frustrating. I enjoy the interaction with you, so I'm sad that the system was down. Let's talk about how to prepare for the exam. So I will tell you, I am a straight A student. I over prepare for everything. And so I would definitely recommend that you over prepare for the exam, especially since it's the first test and you don't know what to expect. Really important that you are organized and ready. I always think it's better to be overly ready than to think you're set. And then once you start the exam, you realize that you should have studied a little bit more. Sorry, my daughter snuck in the room, so I paused it for her. So over prepare, I think it's always better to do that for the first test. And when I say prepare, what you should be doing is using the study guide. So I have made a study guide for you. It's right here. But what I want to point out to you is you've had this all along. So if you go up to the very top, the study guides are all already posted right here. I'll post the last one at some point as well. I always try and make sure that they reflect the exam we're actually going to do. But if you open the study guide for the test, wait just a moment here. Anything that's on the study guide, you can expect to see on the exam. So if it's on here, make sure that you know it, you're familiar with it, you could answer questions about it. That could be a definition, it could be picking it out of options, it could be applying it. But this exam covers everything from chapter 1, chapter 2, part 1, chapter 2, part 2, and then APA formatting part 1 from this week, which is brief, but it is definitely on the exam. So everything that is on here is fair game. Most of these things are going to be found in the textbook or the lecture. So the lecture videos that I made for you or the book, it'll be a combination of the two. Or when we're talking about like APA formatting, those were things mainly from the lecture since there wasn't anything in the textbook. So if it were me, I would go through and I would write all of these terms out on flashcards. I would define them. I might write them out on or type them out on a piece of paper. And if you had it typed out in front of you, organized by chapter and topic, then you can reference that during the exam and you should be in really good shape. Again, I would implore you, please do study and prepare like you would for a traditional test. If you don't understand these terms and you're trying to understand it and then answer a question, you're going to be really short on time. So the exam is all multiple choice and true, false, and matching. Right? So multiple choice, true, false, and matching. So as long as you can answer all these on that level, you should be in good shape. I will never trick you on an exam. So if a question is ever unclear, maybe read it again, or you can always contact me about it later. But there are no trick questions. Everything should be very straightforward, very sensical. If you've been doing the reading and following along, you should be in really good shape. But again, please do prepare and study, even though you can use your notes and your book. It'll be important for you to have prepared a little bit. So if it's on here, make sure you know it. If it's not on here, don't worry about it. You can let it go. And I think, those are the main tips that I want to give you. You will have a study guide for every exam. And these things are either in the lecture, on Canvas, or in the textbook. So one of those three sources, and all together they will give you that information. And some of these are the little videos as well that I've posted for you on Canvas. So make sure that you are watching all of those, including like the librarian's presentation and so on. So that study guide can be found under week number 4, which is where we are at this week. And so make sure you're preparing, ready to go. Don't wait till the last minute. Those are all, again, big tips that I would give to you. Other than that, what I would do, I will give you the Twitch extra credit question for this week. I'm going to give it to you here. And if you'd like to answer that, you can go right here and type it in and answer it. So you would go to Twitch extra credit number 4 and submit assignment. And you can do that anytime before Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. And I'm sorry again that we couldn't do this live together. I'm not sure what happened with Twitch, but if I'm able to find like a half hour on either Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday morning, just to be on in case you have any questions, I will try to make that happen for you. It all depends on my kids' school schedule and everything. So I will do my best if I can make that happen for you. Otherwise, the Twitch extra credit question for this week, will be, what does APA stand for? And what edition are we currently using? So that is your Twitch extra credit question number 4. What does APA stand for? And what edition of APA formatting are we currently using? So make sure you get going on the lecture, the video, the discussion, the exam, the extra credit if you're interested. Have a wonderful week. Hopefully I'll see you later in the week on Twitch. If not, hopefully they fix everything before next week, because this was definitely made for a chaotic morning. So have a good week. Good luck on the test. Take a deep breath. You'll be great as long as you have been following along and preparing. You should be in great shape.